December 12th meeting of the CDA, please come to order. Will you take roll call, please?
Karen Gale.
Here.
Michael Suter.
Here.
Don Niemer.
Here.
Alderman Weigel.
Here.
Alderman Haas.
Here.
Wayne Clark is excused, and we have a quorum.
And I'm here too.
I'm Jerry Motter.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. We have a quorum. First thing on the agenda tonight is approval of the minutes of the August 15th meeting. Can I have a motion, please?
I move for approval. Second.
Been moved for a second. Is there any further discussion or corrections? If not, all please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes stand approved. First thing on the agenda tonight is the public hearing. I, Gerald Motter, Chairman of the Community Development Authority. The notice of the hearing will be read now. Public hearing to consider the sale of public land for the property located at 6771 West National Avenue, tax key number 453-0564-003 in the city of West Dallas. In compliance with primary hearing process, the Executive Director of the Community Development Authority has filed with the authority the notice of the hearing. The affidavit's publication will be filed as soon as it is received from the official newspaper as required by Section 66.1333 of the Wisconsin statutes. This document will be made part of the records of the proceedings of this matter. Purpose of the hearing. The purpose of this hearing is to afford a full opportunity to all interested parties to express their views on the proposed consideration of the sale of land for the property located at 6771 West National Avenue, tax key number 453-0564-003 in the city of West Dallas. Following the closing of this hearing, the authority will consider a vote on the resolution authorizing the sale of land for the property located at 6771 West National Avenue, tax key number 453-0564-003 in the city of West Dallas. If adopted, the resolution will be submitted to the Common Council of the city of West Dallas for approval as provided in Section 66.1333 of the Wisconsin statutes. Statements by interested parties. I will now ask Mr. Slodge, the Executive Director of the Authority, and his designated staff to make a brief presentation with respect to the proposal before the Authority.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we are fulfilling a statutory obligation to have a public hearing on the sale of public land. There will be no action on the public hearing tonight, just conducting the public hearing aspect of it. My colleague Sean Miller will present an outline of the project and where things are at. We'll have further discussion on the development agreement and the project in closed session this evening.
Thank you, Patrick. As we've gone through this for the past few months and actually years, we're here to the point of at the public hearing stage to potentially sell the CDA-owned property at 6771 West National Avenue. The CDA purchased that in 2016 as part of TIF 14, the former Milwaukee Ductile group of properties that went to the south, where the UHS hospital was built. It's called Granite Hills to the south, and the CDA also purchased a few other properties, including this former Kearney Trecker manufacturing facility. It's approximately 45,000 square feet of space, 1.67 acres. And they also purchased the adjacent property, which is kind of a semi-paved gravel lot that's approximately 1.5 acres. The public hearing is for the consideration of the 1.67 acre parcel, the sale of that property. We have received a proposal as we've gone through over the last few months from bond revision, of which we will get into the details of as we go through these slides. But the vision for it is to use it as an event space / office space for a user that they would lease to, and then would partner with on the event space portion. they'd basically be breaking the building, sort of splitting it in half between 20,000 plus square feet of event space, give or take some, and then the other 20,000 or so for office and warehouse use. We'll get into those details. What we get out of it is a $16 million investment to rehabilitate the building. There would be historic rehabilitation using historic tax credits, which would be a major funder of the project. They also would be using New Market tax credits and a few other forms of equity. The ask of the CDA is to essentially build out the parking to support the $16 million investment on the adjacent parcel, approximately 1.5 acre parcel, and then to assist on the environmental. We do have some other funding sources other than TIF that can assist in those things, such as EPA and potentially MMSD on the parking lot itself. The building program for the space, for the historic rehabilitation of the space itself, is just sort of broken down in detail here. And they're indicated as about 48,000 square feet, the event space 18,000, and then broken up, there's $85,000 of support space for the event space. And then you can see the office would sort of be on that second floor atrium area. Warehouse fabrication area, there's a lower area that doesn't open up as high as the high bay former manufacturing space, where they would sort of have their workshop warehouse area, and then there's an existing loading dock, sizable loading dock that would be very useful for their event space uses that they do elsewhere. And then there's just general mechanical spaces and such throughout. This just kind of indicates some of the uses that they would do within the event space: weddings, corporate events, pop-up markets, farmers markets, different types of uses like that, such as that. Parking, this is one of the big requests in order to draw the investment. The CDA to provide supportive parking for it. It's a 1.5 acre lot. We've sized it out a few different ways. If you use the existing lot, we can get about 155 parking stalls out of it. If you just added approximately 12 feet to the west onto the 6771 parcel, you can get up to 172 stalls. So it's a sizable parking lot that you can get to support the large event space and the office user that would be within it. This is just kind of indicating the attraction of the of what converting the space would get us. $50,000 or up to 50,000 visitors per year, regular jobs that are there, so daytime use of the building, of the facility to help support the businesses around it as well, and the part-time jobs. And then we think our assessors indicated they think it would come out at about a $4.6 million fair market value. As far as Baum Revision's vision and what they bring to the table, they've been around for a long time. They're a Chicago-based developer. They own and have rehabilitated 5 other properties that have event venues within them. They have a great vision for this site. They do these adaptive reuses throughout the Midwest. They have one on the West Coast as well. And they are a good fit to be able to rehabilitate and bring in a user to the building. This is sort of a breakdown of how they envision the space potentially being used with their tenant and themselves. Baum sort of sharing the use of the event space. So you can just see a breakdown of community public events, private events. So you're going to have weddings. They'd like to potentially bring in the winter markets, galas. The user that's supporting it, that's using the office space, they do galas, they do weddings and things of that nature. So that hits the mark for them. And then Baum uses their latest redevelopment was the Garver Feed Mill, and that's where they do a lot of farmers markets, arts, crafts, things like that. So that's what sort of they would bring to the table. They also foresee it maybe some music and other types of community events. This is just a visual of potentially what the inside could look like. This is sort of the first floor, potential visual of the first floor event space. And then this is that sort of second floor, partial second floor office space. Visual of that. Just other projects that Baum has worked on in the past. Just a few visuals there. Garver Feed Mill is sort of their latest. It's in Madison. I know some of you have visited it, and this just kind of indicates some of the types of events that they do there that would be of similar nature and would come to the Kearney Trecker building. You can see winter markets again, weddings, nonprofits, and this is a vintage flea market, which I think we even saw something similar of that run in our downtown. Be able to bring something like that inside would be kind of interesting as well. So anyway, they're excited to move forward. They have some things to work out with the tenant, and we can talk a little bit more of that maybe in closed session. But
All right, thank you, Sean. Okay, we'll go to Part B. Any interested parties in attendance may now express their views on the proposed consideration of the sale of the public land for the property located at 6771 West National Avenue, tax key number 453-0564-003 in the city of West Dallas. Please raise your hand, be recognized, and upon being recognized, state your name and your address and your interest in the proposal. Then, if you may proceed with your statement. If you appear on behalf of an interested party, please state the name of the party you represent. Does anyone wish to be recognized at this time? Please stand, sir, and you have the floor.
Good evening. John Anopa with Oak Brewing Company. We are the neighboring property at 6751 West National. My business partner, Kyle Siski, is here with me tonight. We purchased the property and building from the city almost 2 years ago. We're a new and growing business. We have many of our own events, and I believe many people would consider us very much a community center in our own right. We consistently have events anywhere from 20 to up to 300 persons in our facility. When we purchased the property from the city, it was discussed at least a few times to have an understanding that with the likely future development of 6771, we'd have a shared parking arrangement with that new tenant or new owner. So it's really just, we're here to essentially say that we just want to be on the same page in terms of the parking arrangement. The programming that is proposed for that building is very much the same in that their busiest days, Friday and Saturday, would be similar to ours. So that creates a concern for us that many events already that we're hosting, we're using 100 to 120 cars worth of parking out back on that city-owned parking lot. We do have approximately 45 stalls once our property is finished and repaved. So on a typical weeknight, we could usually use upwards of 80 spaces. So we're just concerned that there might be some pushback from our customers that are accustomed to having convenient parking, driving in from other parts of town, that they have the convenience of parking on our property or adjacent to our property. So there's a concern that with the neighboring development, there'd be conflict there. It's been our desire and my understanding, the desire of the city and future tenants, that we don't want signs everywhere that say no parking or private event, and then cars end up getting towed or whatever the result might be. But like I said, we typically use a large portion of that lot, and our business is growing. So I would anticipate we're going to need more parking spaces as time goes on, just as any potential tenant of the neighboring building, as their business grows, they're going to need more parking as well. So we just want to be part of the conversation and find a solution that works for us and the city and the neighboring tenant.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm sure all your things are going to be addressed in the future. You're not going to get an answer tonight, that's for sure. Okay. Does anybody else wish to speak? If not, then being no other parties wishing to address the authority, I declare this hearing closed and will now proceed with the next order of business. Patrick, do you want to go start 2, 3, and 4, or
Well,
you want to hold those all?
I don't know if anybody had any discussion or anything on the public hearing related to the land sale, but at this point, we would recommend not taking action on 3, and we would not have action on 4 tonight. Just subject to what we'll discuss in closed session, so.
So we'll hold those all for closed session.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Alderman Weigel.
perhaps Patrick would like to share with the rest of the CDA what the city's, which committee was it that this was at last?
So-
Tuesday?
Committee of the whole?
Yeah,
The
this,
committee of the whole, we had a discussion on this
Right.
too. Yeah.
so, we'll do this on item 3 at this point as on the agenda. So the Common Council had a meeting of the whole, I think a week ago, and we had actually some of the slides from Balm Revision in tonight's PowerPoint. We had a discussion with Common Council, and Wayne Clark was in attendance at that meeting as well, and in the closed session discussions. It seemed like there was a general favor to keep the project moving. We're working towards parking resolutions here relative to that. We've hired heirs to do the design. We've done some internal designs. I applaud Sean. He actually got out the old architectural ruler and was doing some design work of the parking lot too, just making sure that the numbers that are part of the discussion. So relative to parking, it's both an economic attraction tool, because the tenant and just the building of that size needs parking of any animal. You can't have a building with that much square footage and not have any parking associated with it. So we're working to mitigate that, as well as, OPE has made a significant investment in this corridor too, and we want to make sure this project all works. Baum represented that they have a strong tenant when to move into the space. There's ongoing discussions there, and that we can share a little bit more in closed session. But overall, I think the direction from the Common Council was to keep working to get the development agreement in place. And I mean, this will be a national landmark. I mean, it's on the registered historic places. It'll be utilizing tax credits to renovate the space. It's a $16 million renovation. So the 50,000 estimate in terms of people attending or visiting this property, it's probably low. If you're doing winter markets and different events, they represented Baum that they do over 75 non-wedding events at the Garber Feed Mill a year. I mean, those are open to the public type of events. So that's pretty significant, and that's going to create a lot of traffic in this corridor. And I think ultimately that was one of the goals, is that I think if I remember right, we welcome the traffic. We welcome this to become a destination within the city. So I think that might wrap up the discussion. So
I think that covered it very well, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding? All right. What about 5, 6? You want to hold that?
item 5, we can actually take up right now.
Okay.
We do have a representative of the development group, JJH3 group here. Just want to recognize that Jeff Hook is in the back. And I think, did you bring a PowerPoint on the jump drive or anything?
I was just speaking.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Then we'll give an outline to where we're at. And I think
Do you want me to read the resolution?
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you,
Item
Mr.
5,
Chair.
resolution to approve a letter of intent with JJH3 Group for the property located at 6424 and 6426 West Greenfield Avenue, 6414 to 22 West Greenfield Avenue, and 1300 South 65th Street, tax key number 4390145-002, and tax key 439-0146000 and 439-0144-001. Patrick, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, this is the block, recognized as 6400 block, of the former Crawdaddy's Restaurant and the former Spot. You might recall the CDA purchased these properties. And we've gone through discussions with a couple developers on the site, and most recently is JJH3 Group. And they have presented to us a concept that is unique in the sense that it restructures the block with the public space being on the corner of 6400 and then incorporating 8 townhomes, multi-story townhomes overlooking that public space, as well as a new restaurant space it's a mixed-use building with 11 apartment units. The idea here is they would utilize the parking that's located behind, garage access through the parking or alley behind the property, and then it would really offer a little bit of an urban walkout type of unit townhome into that public space. So idea here is they would have outdoor dining with the restaurant as well on the western elevation. The public space, if the way it's structured right now, is in between 2 buildings, pretty much on the corner on the east side, so it doesn't get the afternoon light. And this, in this case, restructures it and then kind of makes a connection into the Aurora Clinic and the west development. And it provides a little bit of an exit point to how we're developing the 6 Points Farmers Market area. So I think this is around a $7.3 million development. We've had Baker Tilly review the performer as well and look at the returns. They're modest. And we'll talk about that in closed session. But at this point, if Jeff Hook would like to present anything or comment on the project, I welcome Jeff to share any comments before the CDA.
Go ahead. You have the floor, sir.
All right. Well, Patrick touched on that. I'll go into the details. We can talk about it. But I figured it's probably important, first of all, to start off. I know most, if not all of you, probably know my dad. And a couple of you also know my mom. I think it's important. What you guys are being asked to authorize Patrick to do requires trust and faith and an investment in me personally. So I think it's important that you know a little bit more about me and why I think I'm a good development partner with the city of West Dallas. So I grew up here, Walker School, Frank Lloyd Wright, Hale, class of '94. My partner, Joe, who is the Galbraith Cairnhart Architects on the side here, he actually coincidentally went to Central. We're working through our differences, but I think it's actually going to be a good story for the community. I went to the University of Illinois. I have a master's degree from there. I met my wife there. I'm proud of the fact that I've since brought her back here, converted an Illinois person, nicknames reacted into a proud Milwaukee resident. I'm a structural engineer by my background. I started out as a structural engineer up in the Minneapolis headquarters of a large national developer. Had the opportunity in 2002 to come down here to run design build projects. First one was the only non-teal roof campus town building at Marquette, if you guys are familiar with the area. Since then, several multifamily, industrial, manufacturing, medical office, run the gamut around here, Madison, Chicago. Because of my background, I've tended to do the projects that are a little bit harder, a little tighter budget, a little tougher schedule, take a little bit more creativity, and the sites that are supposedly, undevelopable. Projects ranging from $10 to $85 million, so big stuff. Housing projects at Marquette, a large apartment building across the street from Camp Randall, the large Roundy's Distribution Center you guys have driven by for 15 years out in Oconomowoc. More recently, Western Building products from Village, Glenroy, who you see out in Menominee Falls, Angeles Corporation. All of these projects, I tended to also be the developer of it, whether it's for my own company that I work for or on behalf of the clients. Vetting property, acquiring property, due diligence, the entitlements, working with the city to develop TIF districts, getting the financing pulled together, basically everything except signing the loan agreement and writing the checks. So why am I telling you this resume? I think it's important because the reason I feel confident in being out here talking to you, even though this would be the first project that will have my personal name, my personal firm at the top of the page, I've been doing development projects larger than this for 23 years now. So I'm confident in what I'm proposing to you. I wouldn't be in front of you if I didn't feel confident in my ability to deliver, to execute, and for this to be a win-win for the whole group. So with that being said, I'd be happy to answer any questions about it. I think Patrick kind of touched on the big points. The philosophy that Joe and I have been working on with this is if you guys are familiar with the missing middle housing concept. So if you're familiar with that area, there's a large 4 or 5 story building bounding on both sides. And then there's kind of a dark area, as Patrick had mentioned. I think part of what we see as the issue with that park and not being as active as it could be is because it is a little bit dark, it is a little bit intimidating. What this would do is invert that, scale this development as a transition from the larger developments down to the single family homes here, provide a crossroads of sort, kind of an oasis in the middle between Greenfield and then 65th. You know, certainly there's the farmer's market, there are developments that Mandel's working on, but then also you have that property that I know the CDA is trying to work with developers to develop up 65th Street. So we see this as a little bit of a crossroads and hopefully make this an active community amenity. And then, you know, this retail being part of that, you know, I'm not completely bullish of, I wouldn't do much more retail than this, but we think there's an opportunity here because of the public park and because of the partnership with the city to really find the right person that's going to activate this. And we envision something that's going to be, hopefully doing something that would be in the morning and then, you know, going through the daytime to get this as a community hub. Not necessarily a late night place, but I think more of something that families would come out to. You know, people would come out and hang out during the day. I mean, there's a large senior housing development across here. That'd be fantastic if that would be, you know, users of that and those kind of things. So.
Thank you. Is there any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Niemer.
These townhouses, are they rentals or are they condominiums?
These would all be rentals.
All rentals.
Yep. And the concept and the size is actually taken pretty directly off of a project that GCA just opened up actually in Grafton. Same kind of size. It's about 1,600 rentable square feet with a 1.5 car garage in there. So the garage actually tucks under. The grade in the front is slightly higher than the grade in the back, so you'll have a couple of steps up.
Sorry. It jumped.
You'll have a couple steps up on this, but then.
It's a touch screen, so if you get too close,
Oh,
it jumps.
that's why I didn't realize that. I did. I was blaming Patrick.
We all do.
What's the thinking behind the rental versus the condominium?
Combination of things. The condo complicates things from a development and a financing angle from us. But I also think that there's a market for rental of this nature here. If there was more of it, or if there's a little bit more mass to try and do the condo, I think I'd be more open to it. Part of the reason this I think works is because I'm trying to touch here. It also gives mass from a property management standpoint. You'll have more of an active management and kind of operations here. Whereas if you only have 11 units there and then these were condos, it'd be a little bit. The math starts to get a little bit worse. So. Yeah, that's kind of. I think there's a market too. The Mandel stuff. What we're seeing actually, from what we can tell, the prices on their typical units are holding relatively steady, but they've actually been kind of raising the prices on their 3 bedrooms recently. So I think that's showing the robust nature of that product. There just isn't a lot of good product of that nature in the area.
Would the retail space be the mass you need to convert to condos?
I don't think so.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess condos are a difficult thing because in financing right now, in general, but financing as a condo, unless you have them pre-sold, it really makes it difficult to kind of have that whole thing set up right now.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Weigel.
thanks for the answer on the condo question, because I was going to ask that. On the management of the rentals, is that something you guys are going to do, or are you going to hire somebody to manage the property? And what
We haven't gotten to that stage at the moment yet.
are you managing any rental property currently?
No, it would be,
You're
if we did
developing.
it would be contracted with someone,
Right.
it's just a matter of what.
Okay.
And then, you know, to answer the next part of it, and Patrick, you can maybe talk a little bit, the public park, what we've talked about conceptually with the city is, we would want to, from a liability standpoint, want to parcel
Give it to the city.
that, but we're comfortable, you know, handling day to day, you know, changing the garbage, plowing the sidewalk on it.
Public
just to
Works
kinda
likes
keep
that.
it- Yeah, because I know that's, the conversations that Sean Patrick and I had, there's a real concern about some of these remnant parking lots and some of the remnant parks, it's not efficient to handle that, but if we have people out here and we're plowing a parking lot anyway, and we're plowing the patio anyway, I think we're open to cooperating on that kind of stuff. Now, if it got to be more, again, part of the agreement would be, if there's a problem with, trees are dying or, whatever is happening, that would be more of an ownership
Capital.
issue, right? But as far as everyday maintenance and that kind of thing, I think we're very comfortable having that as a property management.
And on the restaurant, I guess I'm going to have to, what size is that? And are you thinking, I'm going to just say this, I would hope that you would be looking at an independent or local, small, multi-place, not a Applebee's or something like that.
Well, it'd be very small Applebee's. It's about 2,700 feet. It's much more, to call it a restaurant, it's probably more of a cafe, would be more of an image that I think we'd give you. So, a good-sized coffee shop, like your average run-of-the-mill Starbucks size is like 1,600 to 2,000, so it's bigger than what that would be, but it's not going to be like an Applebee's is going to be much more,
No, I understand.
4,500 square feet.
And have you been talking to any potential tenants about it yet?
No, that's actually one of the things that's on our things to do over the next, through the LOI. Perfect world for me is that we would actually find a local operator that wanted to participate and be jumping in here with us right off the bat. That would be a perfect world. I would love to have that lined up beforehand, and yes, absolutely, I would rather have a local. I mean, we're doing this as a local thing. We want to be part of this. We want that to be a community thing that follows as equal.
I think we've heard from other developers that the costs of new construction often preclude the typical small business owner from going there. And I just hope this just doesn't turn into a Dunkin' Donuts or a Starbucks or something.
I think that was one of the things that we clearly pointed out in our early discussions with Jeff, is that he'd have to capitalize a lot of that build out for the restaurant, like the hood, and
Yeah.
in order to attract that tenant use.
Somebody could walk in without
Yes.
having to put another 200 in it or something.
So that we have it built out and finished, not come, or at least reserve that money and put it in escrow so that when that comes up, it's there. We've talked about that already, and that's in the pro forma.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and to Patrick's point, you kind of mentioned it. We feel confident that this is an opportunity, but the reality is, to your point about the local or the local versus national developers, I think this is a neat opportunity with Joe and I. We're ambitious about the opportunity to develop this property. This is not a home run, which is why we've had these conversations about price and setting up the TIF and that kind of thing. I think there's a great opportunity. We're absolutely happy to share upside with some protection on the backside. Neither of us are looking to just make a killing out of this and laugh on the way out. We're looking to make this as successful as possible, get the assistance that we need to get it across the finish line, to do the local thing, to keep this the right plan. Because if this were just a pure spreadsheet exploration, you would be jamming a massive building on it. And I don't think it's the right product for this. You have a lot of good quality mass being built about a block and a half away with other things that come along with this. And then to put that right in that neighborhood, again, I think that's counterproductive from the city standpoint. You guys have an opportunity here because you own it to make better social choices than you would have to if this is private and it's just you have no control over it. So I think there's a good partnership opportunity.
So as part of the LOI, the developer would get 90 days plus a 30-day extension. That's the way it is drafted in there. And then there are milestones that Jeff has provided us a timeline. And if those milestones are hit, then we can extend the LOI as we worked. I mean, ideally, they would like to get to like May of 2024, June, in that area of construction. So, this is just to get it so that we don't negotiate with any other groups at the point, and he can start investing the money necessary to get to the next steps. And we can talk. We have this in closed session if you want to talk further.
No further questions? Thank you very much, sir. It was a very nice presentation. Appreciate it. Well, you want to go to 6, 7? Or,
6 is in closed session and 7 is in closed session.
all right, how about 8? Item 8, consideration relative report on redevelopment initiatives. Are there any questions in them regarding for Patrick or the board?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Alderman Weigel.
as long as you're in the neighborhood of the motor casting site, I haven't been by there lately. I know they were picking away at the demo on it. Are they still working on it?
I called the representative of Dalton Corporation just this morning, and he shared that they are looking to change vendors on the demolition. But they are in the process and chipping away, and he's I believe is coming in for a fence permit for refencing some areas because people are getting in, and he said that people are dumping stuff on the site. So, and I asked, do you have any dates of completion? He goes, no. That was clear, and I said, do you have people exploring the site? Some.
The dumpers.
Yeah. So, not very, didn't seem very motivated. So it's something that probably warrants further discussion.
And every time I go to Bread Peddlers, St. Al's comes up.
I think at the last meeting we discussed that the developer presented a different type of financing tool, and it didn't seem like a path we wanted, and that was relayed to the developer. So I don't know of any other progress on that at this point.
Thank you.
No further questions on that? Then we will, can I have a motion to go? Oh, wait, I got to read that first. For items 4 to 7, the committee may convene in closed session pertinent to the provisions of section 19.85/1/E for the state statutes for the purpose of deliberating, investing of public funds whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This committee can convene in open sessions after the completion of the closed session to consider the balance of the agenda. Can I have a motion to go into closed session, please?
So moved.
Second. Patrick, we take roll call for this one again?
Karen Gale,
Yes.
Jerry Motter,
Yes.
Michael Suter. Yes. Don Niemer,
Yes.
Alderman Weigel.
Aye.
Alderman Haas.
Aye.
All right.
Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Hein. Okay. Just gotta wait. And then-
Probably resting down there.
I didn't know his mom was also.
Down there?
Okay.
I know her from East
All right.
Education Authority. Got
We have one new resolution to come before us this evening yet. Resolution to approve a letter of intent with JJH3 Group for property located at 6424, 6426 West Greenfield Avenue and 6414 to 6422 West Greenfield Avenue and the 1300 South 65th Street. Tax key number 4390145-002, 439-0146-000, and 439-0144-001.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved for approval of second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. Is any further business come before this committee this evening?
We adjourn.
I will second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I like
All
that-
right.
I like that the park is gonna come back to the city.
Tap this again?